To your forum videos, I'm your host Natalie Rydström. Here with us now to discuss the British and Irish Lions tour of Australia is sports writer and regular SBR forum contributor Richard O'Hagan. Richard, thanks once again for joining us.
Hi Natalie.
The British and Irish Lions looked great in their opening game, especially in their one-sided victory against the Barbarians, which had a 59-8 scoreline. Did you see any flaws in their play?
Oh Natalie, there were one or two flaws in their play, and it was bound to be the case. Very hot, very humid, and they were playing together for the first time. So there were one or two moves they put together that didn't quite come off. Sometimes the final pass was going forward because the timing of the runs wasn't correct. But by and large, they'll be very, very satisfied with that. Very satisfied with the way the scrum performed. They dominated the Barbarians. The Barbarians had a very strong scrum of their own out. Line out went reasonably well, but again, it's going to take a little while for that to gel because they're all working to totally new patterns for the line out. But on the whole, I thought it was a very promising performance.
Okay, the Lions did suffer a considerable setback on Wednesday as Cian Healy injured his ankle, which might keep him out of a number of weeks now. Now, will this have an impact on the Lions' performance?
It's going to have an impact from one perspective, which is that he was probably the guy they were thinking of as starting the first test match at Loosehead prop. He's got two problems really at the moment now. First of all, he's got his ankle injury, which they're still not sure about because the first lot of scans came back inconclusive. So he's had more scans done and they're waiting for those to try to find out what he's actually done to it. And also he's facing a disciplinary hearing on Friday morning because he's been charged with biting an opponent, which would rule him out of the tour completely if he's found guilty. So they called up England's Alex Corbisiero to replace him. He will go to the back of the queue definitely in terms of starting players, and they may have to probably look to either the veteran Gethin Jenkins, who had injury problems of his own, or to very inexperienced Mako Vunipola to start at Loosehead, and the Australians will like that because they were hoping for a slightly weakened Lions scrum anyway because their own isn't brilliant.
Okay, and do you think the Lions are still good value to win the Test Series?
They're good value to win the Test Series. I still don't think they will do it, actually. I still think Australia are going to win this 2-1. But the Lions are definitely strong contenders, and they're getting stronger with every game.
Okay. Now, what would you say the value is in their game against the Queensland Reds on Saturday?
Well, I would certainly be looking to back a Lions win because Queensland, they've not done like Western Force did a couple of days ago and actually gone out and picked virtually a second team. And interestingly, Queensland have had to pick a slightly stronger side because they've had to pick a guy called Cade Cooper, who is a contender for the fly half berth for Australia, but is really, really out of favour with the Australian management. Australia's problem is they haven't got anyone experienced at fly half except him. They don't want to pick him. If he turns out a good performance against the Lions, then he will be the number 10 come the first test match. But he's going to put in a good performance, and the Lions are going to attack him hard and try and knock him out of the game because it's his defensive frailty that they don't like in the Australian camp. So, for my money, a Lions win, probably only by maybe 10 points, but I think definitely a Lions win.
Okay, and what's your opinion on the top try scorer market for the Lions?
That's going to be very interesting because Alex Cuthbert has got 2 tries. He's been joined by Brian O'Driscoll on 2 tries after the midweek game. Plenty of other players with 1. Cuthbert is nailed on to be the starting right winger for the Lions. There's no way they're going into a test match against Australia without a guy who's 6'5", who's about 15 stone, and who can run the 100 metres in around about 11 seconds. On the other wing, interestingly, will be probably the guy I see as his main rival for this, will be Tommy Bowe. And the Lions have flagged this up because they picked Bowe on the left wing to play against Queensland, even though that's not his natural position. So I think it's probably going to be between Cuthbert or Bowe for this, but also just have a little look probably at someone like Brian O'Driscoll because he could still hang on in there. He's very good at poaching tries nowadays, and he may be a good man to put a bit of money on at longer odds just to be on the safe side.
Okay. Now, before we wrap up the show, is there any other markets that we should be looking at that we could make a little bit more money?
Again, I would say for a Lions tour, any Lions game, look carefully at the half-time, full-time market because that is one where you would expect the Lions to always come from behind. They've led in their first 2 games. They were easy games. As the games get harder, it's probably going to be more a case of the skill and experience of the Lions telling us the games go on. So for all these games, either back for a draw at half-time or the Lions to be behind but come from behind win, because I think that's the way the game's going to flow. Again, first points of any game, first points of all the Lions games historically tend to be a penalty. So again, look for first scoring play to be a penalty on either side. That's just the way their matches seem to go. The Barbarians was an exception. Western Force wasn't.
Okay, Richard, thanks for joining us.